Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with part 2 of What If Deku Was One Punch Man. And I don't really got much to say. I just kind of want to jump right into the what if. It's been fun, it's been nice, and let's continue to make some what ifs. So yeah, let's get right into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is finally ready for the heroes versus villains training, and let's just be all transparent about what's going to occur here. Izuku isn't too afraid of anything that's going on. And it's not that he's necessarily underestimating, what's to come. But when they all put on their hero outfits and so on and so forth, he arrives and hears All Might speaking. I mean, All Might talks about what they're doing. They're doing heroes versus villains training, and that it's going to be a heroes versus villains. And the first team up is Izuku Midoriya and Ochaku Araka versus Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. And just like always, Bakugo would be the same rowdy and annoying person he always is. He'll begin to say that he can beat Izuku by himself and it's going to be easy. And he's going to make it look easy. And so on and so forth. But that's definitely not what's going to happen. The fight would begin, or the heroes versus villains training would begin, being that Izuku and Ochaku are the heroes, and their goal is to find where the bomb is. Izuku begins to say that he'll handle the front line, as she won't have to worry about it, in which she thanks him, she guesses, but they begin to walk forward, and when Bakugo comes flying toward them, Izuku would practically land one punch to his face, and he would be out cold with a shattered jaw. Yeah, that's not exactly what Izuku wanted to do. He didn't want to hurt him that badly, but I mean, the momentum was something he did not take into account. So when Bakugo came flying in at insane speeds and he tried to pull his punch, well, let's just say pulling his punch wasn't enough. One punch to the face, shattered jaw, and Katsuki Bakugo out cold. With that said though, Izuku just walks up the stairs with Ochaku until they find where the bomb is currently located. And when they find it, well, Tenya Ida can't even keep up with how fast Izuku can move. In a matter of a split second, Izuku's touching the bomb, and Tenya is in shock at the fact that he's that much faster than him. It's that simple, that easy, and All Might is beyond impressed. When they all get back and Bakugo is sent to, Recovery Girl's office, All Might just tells him that he's insanely powerful, that he couldn't even imagine someone being this strong, but now that he's seeing it, he doesn't have to imagine it, he can see it right in front of him. It's absolutely insane. He tells Izuku that he could be the next All Might. Well, no, he could be better. He tells Izuku that if he tries and he works hard and he does everything in his power, he can be better than him. Way better than him. And hearing this, Izuku is shocked and happy to hear it, but he had no idea that All Might would even feel this way and would even think this way. He tells All Might that he will not let him down, and he's going to make sure that he becomes even better than him. Everybody is shocked to hear that All Might is giving such insane, compliments to more or less Izuku, and I mean, it is pretty warranted when you think about it. I mean, Izuku is leaps and bounds better than most of these people, and in terms of just, fighting, power, strength, everything. And the crazy part is he's quirkless. How is he able to do such a thing? But still, everything goes on without a hitch. Everyone does their training, and Izuku would just be prepared for whatever's to come next. And the thing that is to come next is actually, more training. Yes, I know, repetitive, just like the show is, but still, training at the USJ will be a different feeling for everybody. They're going to be doing rescue training. Rescue training is more or less a way for them to learn how to save people, and maybe it will teach Izuku some restraint. Izuku thinks this is a great idea. I mean, he doesn't want to shatter everybody's jaws and knock out a ton of teeth every time he fights somebody. I mean, yeah, normally he'll be fighting villains, but he doesn't want to like send the villains to a hospital every single time he fights one, which is definitely honorable by Izuku, but does make sense for a hero in general. With that said though, Izuku and Class 1A would head off with Aizawa to, well, the USJ. They'd be greeted by Pro Hero 13, and Izuku would just listen in on whatever's going on. He stands there and just awaits and waits some more, and he's just so excited to start working on some of this hero training, saving people from burning buildings, burning cities, mountains, avalanches, and so on and so forth. He's excited. He thinks this is gonna be great. And while he's thinking all this and while he's waiting, let's just say, well, a giant portal would appear at the middle of this fountain. This portal would be pouring villain after villain out, and Izuku looks at this and looks at Aizawa, asking him what's going on. Aizawa tells everybody to stay still and wait, and that he's going to basically go handle this. He jumps forward, but as he does, a shockwave of just compressed air would come flying through, wiping out about 75% of the villains in front of him. Izuku would already be on the far right side of the horde of villains, and Aizawa would shake his head, thinking that he knew that the kid would definitely do this. I mean, he is the type of person to jump into battle without even a second thought. So in one foul swoop, he knocked out as many villains as possible. Everyone there is in complete shock. I mean, he just obliterated so many villains in a matter of a second, and obviously Aizawa would come in and in one foul swoop knock out the rest. And the villains that are left are Kurogiri, Shigaraki, and also the Nomu. And the Nomu gets immediately put on Izuku. They immediately yell, or Shigaraki immediately yells, telling the Nomu to kill the kid right now. And as the Nomu comes in swinging all blaze of glory, Izuku looks and punches it with about the same amount of force that he used to hit the shockwave, and the Nomu goes and flies back just a little bit. And this would put in Izuku's mind, well, this thing must be real strong. He might be able to use all his strength. He's never done that before, but this is an attempt that will be for the ages. Izuku looks with the death glare, and immediately would punch the Nomu so hard that he would go flying out of the entire USJ. And Izuku would see the look on the villains' faces, and they would be terrified. What the hell is that? And who the hell is that? They immediately think to retreat, but Izuku is already on them. Izuku lands a punch to Shigaraki, and then immediately would be able to shoot a huge gust of wind toward Kurogiri, in which it does hit one of or part of Kurogiri's body, sending him flying backwards. Kurogiri is more or less in a horrible position, and Shigaraki is out cold. Of course, Aizawa jumps into the fray, grabbing Shigaraki and more or less cuffing him pretty quickly, just with something makeshift or something that would restrict his hands. And in terms of Kurogiri tries to make a portal, but the other students, who were of course told not to, get involved, still get involved. So the whole shutdown of the League of Villains is immediately put to a halt because of Izuku. Izuku would shut it down more or less all by himself. All it took was, one punch that would eliminate 80% or 75% of the villains in a matter of a second. But, why couldn't anybody have done that in the first place? Still, Izuku played his part and immediately shuts down the USJ attempt. And actually, well, they capture Shigaraki and Kurogiri, but as a last-ditch effort to more or less save Shigaraki, Kurogiri would get off a small portal, But in doing this, it would be a really, really, really rough landing for Shigaraki. He would get injured extremely bad, especially with a portal that isn't the best. A portal that was just spur of the moment. Shigaraki would be flying from more or less the sky, slamming onto a building, and then slamming onto another one. But living just a little bit, just barely. And he's, of course, saved and helped out by someone else in their villain group. With that said, though, I mean, Shigaraki is out for a while, and it's really All For One who's the person that has to send somebody to help Shigaraki, and this wasn't in All For One's playbook, but now he knows. He knows of this boy, this extremely powerful boy, but maybe he's the successor to All Might. I mean, if he is, how much stronger did he get with One For All? How much stronger did he get with All Might's quirk? But what he doesn't know is that this actually isn't the successor of All Might. I mean, yeah, All Might says, like, oh, you can be better than me and you'll be the next All Might, but he doesn't have One For All. He's not, in technicality, the successor for All Might, which is a crazy thought, and a thought that most villain groups, and especially someone like All For One, wouldn't really think much about. He would just expect, well, the kid that did all of this damage has to be the one that is the main dude, the main guy. Has to be. There's no way around it. There's no way anybody else would be. And I mean, would you blame him for coming to that conclusion? Not really. But still, that conclusion would be incorrect. And at the end of the day, there wouldn't be any significant way to stop it anyways. But still, Izuku would go on with just helping clean up all the villains that are there, clean up whatever mess that was made, and he gets a bit of a lecture. But still, Aizawa can't really get mad at the kid for saving literally everybody, so he doesn't get too mad at him. I mean, the kid literally more or less saved everybody there. You can't really yell at a kid for more or less saving everybody. I mean, doesn't necessarily make sense in the long run. But still, Izuku would get a bit of a lecture. He'd be told to not do anything so reckless, but now they know the extent of his power, and God, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And of course, Izuku would more or less speak to All Might about the occurrence, and they would talk about everything that's happened, and All Might would bring up the fact that the sports festival is coming. And yes, he is known by the people in his class and known by the people in his school, but that's about it. I mean, not every single person will know him, and it's time for him to truly make a statement. And that statement will be in the UA Sports Festival, in which when the UA Sports Festival would finally arrive, Izuku would make his speech. Everybody would be shocked that this bald head kid that supposedly has no quirk, well, is the #1 student in UA, but quickly they would find out why. Because in one single jump, he would jump over the entirety of the obstacle course race. Everybody would be shocked. Is that even allowed? What was that? All Might would be watching from the bleachers, and he would be smiling and nodding his head. All the other heroes in complete shock. What the hell is that kid? All the other heroes would be terrified. I mean, look at him. Look what he's doing. So much stronger and better than all of them. Endeavor frustrated because, well, we all know Endeavor, but still, Izuku would already be done with the obstacle course race, and Midnight is just standing there smiling and laughing because she knew, and everybody else in UA knew, that this is exactly the outcome that would happen. Everybody in the UA Sports Festival is playing for second. That's all they're doing. And frankly, the only way that they would be able to defeat Izuku would be this next thing, would be the cavalry battle. But in all reality, everybody would want to be with Izuku. And on top of that, whoever's with him would just win. And even if you tried to use strategy against him, anything that you would try to make a strategy about, Izuku would cover up with the quirks of the other people around him and cover up with the raw power that he has. He's still intelligent, he's not an idiot, so it would be kind of just the best way to approach it is to leave Izuku alone. And even Bakugo, yes, the one and only Bakugo, the one that it has an ego through the roof, would agree with this idea, would agree that there's no way they should be even attacking Izuku. And frankly, they truly are just playing for second place. Izuku would defeat everybody in the cavalry battle, and, well, at least anybody that would come near him. And it would be eventually time for the 1v1 battles. And this is kind of, well, even worse for everyone else. I mean, so much worse. His first fight up is Shinso, and Izuku hears that he has some sort of brainwashing quirk, but he wants to test something. He wants to try it. Try what? Nobody knows, but he walks up and Shinso immediately is just talking trash to him, and Izuku would just talk back. The fight would begin and he would be brainwashed, but just as he gets brainwashed, he would snap out of it at a literal snap of his own fingers. Shinso would be shocked. What kind of mental fortitude does this guy have? And how did he even do that? Izuku just walks towards Shinso and apologizes as he pushes him off, literally with one hand, and going from the middle of the ring to the outside in one small little push. Izuku says that everybody is truly playing for second, and he, well, Shinso being that, he kind of drew the short straw out of the stack. And Izuku would walk off as he awaits his next fight. He would watch as many others would fight as well, and he would finally take on the young prodigy, Shoto Todoroki. Shoto Todoroki has a fire and ice quirk, but soon Izuku would only see one of them. Todoroki would blast a huge pile of ice at Izuku, but it would be stopped in a matter of seconds. Nothing. But slowly but surely, Todoroki would wear himself down. Slowing and slowing and slowing. He would tell Todoroki why he doesn't use his other side. Isn't that like a warming mechanism of some sorts? In which Todoroki says he will never use his other side. He refuses. And Izuku's confused. I mean, why not use his entire quirk? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to him. Izuku tells him over and over again that he probably should use his other side. I mean, he still doesn't have a chance, but he should. I mean, his power would double, right? I mean, it is his quirk, correct? Izuku would bring this up, and Todoroki would just get more mad. I mean, he would say that it's not his quirk, it's his father's, and he refuses to use it. And Izuku finds this to be irritating. I mean, it's not his father's quirk. It's literally his. Izuku says this over and over again, and eventually tells Todoroki that if he's not going to at least take this seriously, there's no reason for him to even be in the ring this long. He appears in front of Todoroki and throws him, and Todoroki barely saves himself with his ice, but you can tell that his ice is depleting. Izuku sends a huge shockwave of air toward Todoroki, so much so that he gets blasted out of the ring. Izuku shakes his head and tells Todoroki that the next time he decides to not use his other side, think about what he's showing everybody else here. Everybody else is trying so hard, trying their absolute best to be the best hero possible, but Todoroki doesn't even want to use 50 or over 50% of his power. That's idiotic. Izuku would leave, and he would never really be that serious ever, but it would frustrate him. I mean, he's trained all these years and was blessed with the strength of, well, it seems like 1,000 gods, but this person decides, oh, he doesn't need to use this quirk that he was blessed with. That kind of just irritates him and rubs him the wrong way. But still, hopefully he got across to Todoroki what he should be doing and that he shouldn't be holding back that much. Still though, did he really? He's not so sure. A couple more fights come up. I mean, he has to take on Tenya Ida, but this fight would be extremely easy. And he would see that Tenya is a little bit off kiltered. Maybe mad, maybe frustrated, maybe something happened. He's not so sure. But the fight with Katsuki Bakugo and himself would go exactly how you think. I mean, it would all end in one punch. Of course, Bakugo would come across and try to come with a strategy. Maybe he can break the arena. Maybe he can somehow eliminate Izuku out of the ring. But there's just no way around it. And there's no way to, well, put this any lightly. But Izuku would eliminate Bakugo. And just like that, you know, it's kind of just over. But with that said, Izuku would get his hand raised. We got the gold medal, number 1. Bakugo gets second. And he's not exactly mad about it. I mean, why would Bakugo be mad about it? I mean, he can't keep up. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. Izuku is just that strong. And it's just the reality of the situation. At least he knows, and at least everyone else knows, that the future is more or less secure. And the future is truly, truly secure in the hands of Izuku. With that said, though, Izuku would get flooded with a ton of offers from different agencies. Izuku, not really knowing where to go, he actually decides to just go to the top hero that he could possibly see. Ironically enough, that being Endeavor. Is Endeavor doing this for his own, well, greed and want to have Todoroki to be number 1? Yeah, probably. But he doesn't really care. He's just going to head over there and hopefully get Todoroki to use his fire side and ignore his father, especially because he obviously can tell that there's hate brewing within Todoroki for his dad. But when he arrives and obviously is taken over there to the agency, he can tell that Endeavor has no want to more or less teach him at all. And he actually threatens Izuku, and Izuku says that he better watch what he says because he will pummel him until there's nothing left. Izuku, dead-faced, straight, and more or less serious as could be, well, Endeavor is shocked. He tells the kid that he's not one of his little students. He's not one of the students that he goes to class with. He's far more powerful, but Izuku says that it doesn't matter, that his power is far beyond his, and arguably far beyond All Might's. And if he can't even keep up with All Might, then, well, he's not keeping up with him. And Endeavor would be pissed, would be absolutely livid, and would try to take a swing and shoot fire at Izuku. And Todoroki would be shocked to see this. I mean, they're indoors. What is he thinking? But Izuku would grab his hand, suffocating the fire into the hand of Endeavor, and grabs Endeavor by the side. He tells him that he could snap multiple ribs right now. Just one push of his finger and a rib cage would obliterate. That's all he has to do. He would throw Endeavor to the side. Actually not super hard, but he would break some bookcases. And he would tell Endeavor that he should be teaching them, not threatening them. So hurry up and do so. Endeavor would ignore him and eventually would tell them both that they're going to Hosu City. Hosu City would be a way for them to more or less do patrols and take down some villains because it's one of the more threatening places in Japan. But when they arrive, the threats would be pretty known, especially with a ton of Nomus arriving. But this would be no problem for Izuku. Izuku would absolutely obliterate Nomu after Nomu, and eventually would just start dashing around the entirety of Hosu City, looking for anybody to save and anybody who needs help. The threat is practically eliminated extremely fast, and eventually he would run into another person that is a threat, Stain. Stain would be confronted by Ida, and Izuku would appear next to Ida, telling Ida that he should go, that this is idiotic, that this is not what he should be doing. I mean, come on, what are you talking about? Why is he trying to fight the hero killer on his own? And what's with the whole demeanor? Stain would bring up that it's because he hurt his brother. And Izuku would turn to Stain, telling him he's not talking to him, he's talking to his friend here, continuing to talk to his friend. And Stain would be mad about this. I mean, what kind of person does he think he is? Stain would charge forward, but immediately Izuku would be on the right side of him, and he would be shocked. When did the kid move? When did he even have time to wait? He already has his fist clocked back. He's already to the right of him, or already technically to the left of Stain, and one punch straight to the jaw slamming him into the wall. The hero killer is out cold. Stain would get a last glimpse of Izuku's face, and a last glimpse of the cape that he's wearing falling down, and Izuku would be the last sight that Stain would see before being put in prison. Tenya would say that he should kill Stain right now. He deserves it, but Izuku grabs Ida and begins to drag him off. He tells the police and many others that Stain is out cold entirely, in which they pick him up, and the police forces and Endeavor and many other heroes would take credit for the stopping of Stain, Izuku not really caring much about it. He would take Tenya away and eventually would bring him to UA, as everyone would be called back, and Izuku would tell Aizawa what occurred. Of course, he would get the lecture. Tenya would get his lecture and be told that this was a ridiculous idea, and so on and so forth. But Aizawa would tell them that they're going to make up for it, all of it, in this next exam, the final exam. And that final exam will include a fight, or the practical exam, and also a written portion. The written portion would be finished up relatively easily, and everybody would be finished with it entirely. But the next portion, the practical, well, would be a little bit different. And Izuku won't have a partner, because he'll be going head to head with All Might himself. This is to prove how strong he truly is. This is to prove what kind of hero he will truly be in the near future. Is Izuku that far ahead of All Might? Is Izuku the next All Might, or, well, maybe the next All Might times 10, times 20, maybe times 100, times 1,000? Is all these things true? Well, in the next part of What If Deku Was One Punch Man, he'll prove it. And that is a wrap for this part. And if you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.